everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Meet the Light broadcast. Today, I have an exciting guest with me, Osmarie, who resides in Portugal. She is an energy healer and a life coach, and she has a corporate background. So, a lot of similarities between her and I. So, I'm really excited about today's conversation. So, Osmarie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you transitioned into becoming an energy healer?
Yeah, it's a long story, but let's cut it short.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm Osmarie. I'm originally from the Philippines. So, my background on paper, actually, I'm a certified public accountant. I have an MBA degree in EDEC Business School in France. And I work in corporate for 17 plus years in various roles in finance and sales. And I've worked and lived in Asia, in the US, in France, and now I'm here in Portugal. So how did I become a healer? I did not plan for that, but at some point I just said, even at a young age, I want to become an entrepreneur because I've read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, in my early 20s or even before I reached 20. And that really changed my mindset. But then you cannot just be an entrepreneur without experience. So I followed that path. But I know at some point I'll become an entrepreneur. Now, in my late 20s, I had an epiphany. It's actually an outer body experience. I didn't even know it was an outer body experience, to be honest. But it felt like I was in a dream. I was seeing myself, but I was actually in the room. So that epiphany happened in the headquarters of my company in the US. We were in a big conference room, and then it was intense discussion between developers, subject matter experts, all these kind of things. And then suddenly there's this voice that told me, this is not your life. Your purpose in this lifetime is to touch other people's lives and inspire other people. So at a young age, I didn't really know what does that mean. I was just chasing for that career path.
Mhm.
So I continued, but then I kept in mind that epiphany. And it said, you need to do it on or before 40.
Oh.
So it was specific.
So
So I continued.
take us back and explain that epiphany just a little bit more. So was this in a dream state?
No, it was actual. I was in a big conference room.
Mhm.
So it was one of the biggest conference room in one of our headquarters. We have nine subject matter experts. I think we have around probably 10 IT technical developers in the room and my boss or my bosses, two managers leading the project. And I was just there sitting. And then I don't know, it became like a dream state. I don't know. I was not so spiritual way back then, so I don't know how to explain. But the only thing I can explain it is it felt like a dream,
Mhm.
and I saw myself sitting there, but I was actually there sitting,
Yeah.
and there's a voice that I heard and said, "Your purpose in life is to touch other people's lives and inspire other people, and you need to leave corporate on or before 40."
Before 40. Yes, I think it is
But
hard.
that's just
It's
the
hard to describe that feeling that you're talking about it, but I think it really boils down to just you being present in that present state and very calm, and that intuition and guidance came through.
I think if I can describe it, it was so busy and then it just stopped. My reality stopped.
Mhm.
It was just a background noise and I was just hearing a voice.
Mhm. Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
So I'm interested to know what you did with that. Did you do anything with that? I'm assuming you said around in your 20s. And did you
Yeah,
do anything with that short term, or you just kind of remembered?
I took note of that. And then this is so ironic to say because what we were doing in the project in the US headquarters, we were actually doing a financial reporting. It's a business simplification project to simplify the financial reporting. And that financial reporting is actually, instead of seeing segments, subsegments, products, categories, in the reporting, in the financial reporting, you would see names of people responsible
Mm.
for those lines, segments. And you only see three indicators: target, actuals, variance. And the reason for that is for whoever are decision makers, it's for them, basically, it's for them to easily fire whoever is not reaching the target.
Mhm.
At a young age, it's an eye opener. You work so hard for a career and you see people in that company working for 15, 20 years of their lives, just a minor variance in their targets, they're gone.
Mhm.
And you dedicate all your life working so hard to reach a level in a company.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, it's it resonates, you know? It's like relevance, whatever is my epiphany and whatever I was working, it's actually like opening reality for me
Mhm.
at a young age. So, to answer your question, what I did with that, I kept in mind, I know at some point I will have to get out of the working environment, corporate setting. But I know as well, at 20, I'm not ready. I need to acquire a lot of skills. I need to acquire a lot of experience in order for me to fulfill whatever that is that I need to fulfill. And if I look back now, I don't regret working because I really, really learned a lot. Majority of my skills now, the way I present myself, my confidence level, it's all from that um, experience. But of course, we need to evolve as humans, especially if you know you have a purpose which is different from what you are currently working on. You have to keep in mind it's up to you whether you want to pursue that purpose or you just stay where you at.
Right.
So yeah,
Well, very good. Very interesting. You have an MBA as well, right?
yes. So after US, I went back to Philippines because the job is bring the work to Philippines, outsource,
Mhm.
and then do the job from there. And then when I came back home, it doesn't feel right anymore. That hunger for whatever epiphany that was, it keeps chasing me. I know I have to get out somewhere and really acquire all the experience and skills that I needed. So I did my and this is so funny again. So I did my MBA in France. How did I choose my MBA schools? I Googled top business schools in Europe. Google. And then I saw EDIC because their campus is in Nice, French Riviera, and the picture is campus and then French Riviera, Nice. And I said, I'm gonna go to that school.
There you go.
And then it just happened.
So how long were you over in France for your MBA degree?
Oh, that was just 1 year. So
Mhm.
it's a 1 year program. It's an intense one. And then after my MBA, started working in Paris. So I worked in Paris, I think total of 7 years. I lived there for 8 years.
Okay. Well, I love your background with the corporate world, not only the corporate world, but also just different geographical locations. So you also got a lot of cultural experience with people as well.
Indeed. And what I tell the people sometimes, like, I actually got to know myself better the more I meet people because life is a mirror. Whatever you like in a person, it's something that you like in yourself. Whatever you hate in other people, in other person, it's also something that you hate in yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think whenever we start recognizing that and living life in that way, we can really we can really understand ourselves a lot better, a lot better.
True. It's super true.
Yeah. Then we can understand where we need to shift our thinking and keep improving, right?
That's it because I think I got to a point wherein when I don't like the situation or the person or the people, I ask myself why I don't like the situation, why I don't like the person or the people. And that requires, I think, awareness, not just awareness per se, but like really um, learning and wanting to improve
Yeah,
and not just reacting immediately.
right. Always, whenever I come across the circumstances, which we create, right? I say, what in me invited this to be? To really understand what is it internally that's inviting this outer circumstance to be. So, yeah, very good.
Exactly, because we attract what we vibrate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So after all of this, after the corporate career, you went through schooling, when did you decide to move forward with energy healing? What prompted that?
I was not actually planning to become an energy healer, to be honest. It's a long
This
story
happens,
again.
right?
Yeah, so because my epiphany is that like I need to touch other people's lives and inspire other people. I did a lot of side hustle while working in corporate. I was engaged in mentoring program. I was engaged in coaching program, mentoring and coaching young professionals. I actually created a startup, two startup with that business model. I mean, business model because I have MBA, business background, all this kind of things. Um, but then the lockdown happened, and I'm such an active person, to be honest. You cannot let me in well, tiny apartment in Paris during lockdown for so long. So the third lockdown, I underwent depression, and I said I cannot live this life anymore. And I just woke up one day and said, you already have all the skills that you need, the experience that you need. You have a sales background and finance background. That's already enough for you to start over. And so what happened, I quit my apartment in Paris. I gave almost everything that I have. Clothes, I gave away, donated all my bags. Shoes, okay, I kept half. I'm a woman still. Clothes, I donated two big luggages of clothes. I threw one big luggage of clothes and then I disposed probably one big luggage of clothes in a vintage shop. I know I don't need those things anymore. So the first thing I did is to detach myself from material things. And it's so painful actually to give away things that you value so much and you spend so much. It's an investment, to be honest. But then I know I would not need it anymore because what I realized is instead of me possessing those material things, it's them possessing me and it's actually limiting me from moving or traveling or just beginning a new life. And so I did. And so I was supposed to go to Latin America, Costa Rica. That's like after pandemic for pandemic time, not yet, like not super. over pandemic. And then because that time they were changing regulations every week, I booked my flight to Costa Rica 4 days before my flight. And way back then, the plane tickets were cheap because nobody is really traveling. And I forgot or I missed something in my research because my flight was there's a connecting flight in New York. And I didn't realize, I missed it in my research, that even a connecting flight in US, you need to have an invitation or you need to be part of the exception list. And by that time, I already don't have an apartment. I was just traveling from one surf location to another surf location, living in a luggage. And I got into Paris early. I don't have any place to go back because I got denied boarding.
Mm.
So I just called a friend who lives close to the airport if I can crash for the night so I can think properly the next day. And then the next day, I tried to search for the cheapest flight outbound Paris that is close to the beach because I want to surf. And then I landed in Portugal. And the name of the place I landed is Costa da Caparica. I was supposed to go to Costa Rica. I landed in Costa da Caparica. And the reason I want to go to Latin America is I want to do an ayahuasca. I had a calling to do an ayahuasca long time ago. And then finally, okay, let's do it. And then in Costa de Caparica, 40 minutes away from where I live, there is a retreat house that offers ayahuasca.
Mm.
And so I did ayahuasca. So I did the first one. And then the first one said, you need to do this again after 8 months. So I did the second one after 8 months. I had an ego death in my second ayahuasca. And when I say ego death, I really thought I died. It's the sensation of dying.
Mm.
And the voice was telling me, your ego will kill you. I know I have a big ego coming from corporate and because you needed it to survive. And the problem is sometimes we are not aware that we're actually feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding our ego to the point we don't even realize that.
Mm.
And it becomes normal. So I had an
Talk
ego death
about
in
that a little
Paris.
bit, that we're feeding the ego, we're not even realizing it. I mean, society is set up in that way a little bit on how we learn and what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be walking through life. What are your thoughts on that? What did you mean by we're feeding the ego and not realizing it?
Personally, I think ego is there for survival purposes. Now, when ego becomes glorifying yourself, then that becomes bad to ourselves. So, what do I mean by glorifying? When you need to be right all the time, when you need to be the top all the time, when you need to be competitive all the time, when you need to shine all the time, when you want recognition all the time, when you need to shine out in a big conference room, you need to be the star. That's glorifying yourself.
Mhm.
That's not survival purposes. Survival purposes is when somebody is scamming you. Of course, you need to use your ego to protect yourself.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. I mean, I think that's how a lot of things are set up in our society is
Yeah. And like a simple example, you need a house because you need a shelter. Now it becomes an ego if you need a bigger house compared to your neighbor.
Mhm.
You need a car because you need to travel. It becomes ego when you need to have the best car. So, yeah, simple stuff that sometimes we are not aware.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that ego death 10 times. Couldn't breathe. Like I really died. And then I don't want to do ayahuasca anymore after that. It was so painful. And I was doing meditation one day. And then the voice just told me, you need to do an ayahuasca. And that time I wanted to quit smoking. And I already changed a lot, like my diet, everything. So I check there's a schedule for ayahuasca that week because you need to prepare for ayahuasca. There's a diet, all this kind of stuff, what you don't need to eat, all these things. And they have for 1 week. And my diet is already almost like the requirement. So basically I signed up and the theme was transformation. So during my third ayahuasca, like after the ceremony, I just started to see chakra colors of people in the ceremony. And when I say I started to see chakra colors, I can see which one is blocked, which one is lit, which one is unbalanced. I thought I was going crazy. Something just happened to me after that ceremony.
Mhm.
And then I live by the beach. So after the Iowa, and just to add, they were all explaining things in Portuguese. They're sharing their experience in Portuguese. Even if I don't understand their trip during that ceremony, for apparent reason, I can understand the entire journey they had.
Mhm.
It's like if it was pain, if they found enlightenment, and then when somebody is speaking, I can see like the dominant chakra light
Mhm.
that was enlightened during that ceremony. And I thought I was going crazy. And then for 1 month, um, after that ceremony, I was hearing whatever people are thinking. I hear their thoughts. I thought I was really going crazy.
Mhm.
I just know what's going on with their lives, even if I don't want to. And then I spoke to a friend, classmate from MBA, and she's also spiritual. And I said, you know what? Something happened to me during ayahuasca. I can see chakra colors now. And she said, can you see my chakra color? I said, okay, let's do this properly. And then it started with that. And then she asked me, how do I balance this? How can I activate and balance these chakras? And I said with so much confidence, I can do it for you.
Mhm.
But I did an energy healing course way back. I did it for myself to heal myself, not really to heal other people. And so I just applied whatever I learned in that energy healing course.
Mhm.
And then one thing led to another, just testing, trying out, and then here I am now. I'm an energy healer.
Well, I mean, I think the having the energy healing class, you got a little bit of the information, but I'm assuming that a lot of the information and what you do today is has come to you through your intuition, so you know what to do. Couldn't.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, exactly, it's the intuition. I guess something that I activated my psychic abilities
Mhm.
in that third ayahuasca because my friend told me the one where I tested the chakra reading. She told me you always had it. And I remember it's true, I always had it. When I was a kid, I would do card reading just for fun with people, with my friends. And I say things. But then everything that I'm saying is actually true. I don't even know where that is coming from. It's like just a knowledge and information. And then I realized it's true. I had it as a kid, but then I studied numbers and business. I forgot all of it because I started to use logic. I forgot the intuition part.
Yeah, that's what happens to many of us. um, when we engage so much in just the analytical and logical thinking, and some of our abilities kind of go dormant until we're ready to activate them again.
It's true because we all have intuition. And like I have a client who said, I told her for every session that we have, just set an intention. And she asked me, what type of intention do I set? Just follow your heart, follow what you feel. And it's so funny. She told me, the thing is, I don't even know what I feel.
Mm.
That actually made me sad when you lose the capacity to even identify your own emotions because you're just literally working in logic. We become a robot.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think feeling having that feeling and really feeling almost as like a energetic field within you and around you. And that has to be, I say practiced, but more of you just have to take the time to meditate and quiet your mind in order to start feeling that again. Was that true for you? Because I know it was true for me. I had to really intentionally quiet my mind and work on that.
Yeah, I do that. Like I start my day with meditation. If I don't start my day with meditation, my day's not complete. It's not going well.
Mhm.
And I teach this with my clients. It's a simple practice, how to use your intuition. I ask them to ask me a question, but I don't answer it. I tell them, close your eyes and just listen.
Mhm.
And then they ask me, sometimes they know the answer. It gets through because it's a quiet place. Sometimes they tell me, how do you know when it's the mind or it's the heart or intuition? If it's a straight answer with confidence that's coming from your higher self, your intuition or heart, whatever that is. If there is a contemplation that's coming from the mind, because the mind needs to reason out things.
Mhm.
So that's the simple rule I use, even for myself. So when I close my eyes and I try to channel information to quiet my mind, if there is a debate, contemplation, maybe I know it's just my monkey mind talking, not my intuition or my higher self.
Mhm. That's good. That's good. Yeah, one way I do it is if I'm sitting quietly and I can just by a yes or no say that internally and I feel it. I feel like it's like a bubbly feeling all over me whenever, if it's yes, you know. Um, One thing that was coming to my mind too, whenever you were talking and about the corporate world and we started talking about mindfulness and meditation, is, a lot of the books that I read in the corporate world, like the Dale Carnegie books, were on leadership and things like that. That is all laced with, to quieting your mind too. So I feel like there were steps along my way that the information was already there. It just wasn't so blatantly laid out as you need meditation. But it always said, like, quiet your mind 5 minutes before you go to work. Did you read those type of books too, like in leadership to help you with your corporate career?
Yeah, I did a lot of books.
Mhm.
I read like I was not really sociable when I was young, and then I was thrown away in a lot of business trip. So I need to learn how to socialize
Mm.
and not be shy. So I read a lot of books. I've read like How to Win Friends in like 92 Tricks, How to Win Friends, something like that.
Yeah,
I forgot the
how to
writer.
win friends and influence people. Is that's usually leadership book.
Yeah. Never Split the Difference because I worked in sales by Chris Boss, like negotiation techniques, all these things. Yeah, I read a lot. Like I read a lot of books. And yeah, they say the same thing. And even in negotiation, it's also the same like what I was saying a while ago. How do you win a negotiation? You mirror. It's one of the techniques that they say there. mirror. You just repeat whatever the other person is saying. That's how you win a negotiation. It's one of the negotiation techniques.
Yeah. Yeah. So steps were always there. Tiny little steps for us were always there. It just wasn't the whole picture.
It's true. I mean, if you work in corporate, I because um we are busy. We don't have the time sometimes to digest
Mhm.
information wise and emotion wise. But the truth is, if you like listen to all the successful leaders in the world, they use their intuition and decision making process. Yeah, of course, they use data, they use facts and figures. But if you listen intently, at the end of the day, they base their decision making process based on intuition.
Mhm. Mhm. Very true. True. So tell us more about your energy healing. A little bit, maybe a little bit about your clients and some feedback there.
Yeah. So in energy healing, what I actually do is I do chakra reading first. So I need, so my work is basically most on chakras. So I check first, like which chakra is blocked, unblocked, activated, balanced. And then I ask my clients basically what they really to set an intention. Because at the end of the day, a person come to me because they are struggling in an area of their life. So to customize the healing, I ask them to set an intention. And during my chakra reading, whatever is the energy block related to what they're struggling, it's gonna be channeled to me. And then I know it. For example, I have a client that when she sees her sons, she has too much anger. She feels the anger of her kids. And one time she went there to see her sons on a special occasion. And she came back home. She was having nightmare for 2 days. And then we did the chakra reading. And then during the chakra reading, I saw an image of her as a kid, like 4 or 5 years old kid, running from her mother. And the message that I received was she has too much anger for her mother that she basically transmitted that anger to her kids. And now her kids hate her. So she just passes, they inherited that anger from her. And then when she reflected, after told her what I saw and the message I received, she said, it's true. I have too much anger for my mother. And the next day, actually, she sent me a message telling me she cried all night because she remembered how she hated her mother so much. And whatever I said, it's true. How her children hates her so much, it's actually the same hatred that she felt for her mother.
Mm.
So like that's a specific case. So that's what I do, like chakra reading first, just to see.
Mhm.
And then I work from the bottom. So root chakra to the crown and each, unblock and activate and balance each chakra. Now, there are different, there's like a trend or not trend, there's like a specific blocks for each chakra.
Mhm.
So, for example, the root chakra, majority of that, based on my work that I've seen, the blocks coming from that is either past life, um, ancestral, or familial blocks. So, for example, I have a client who has depression. He actually inherited depression from his father's side, like 50 generations, something like that.
Mm.
past life, I have a client wherein she was born with anxiety and guilt. And I saw during my work that in her past life, she actually killed her husband, the mistress of her husband, and their kid. And she's always guilty in this lifetime for every mistake that she does.
Mm.
So I need to release all of that. And we have to go back to past life to ask forgiveness and correct whatever that needs to be corrected. And so we move on to next chakra, the sacral chakra. So in general, that's blocked by abusive, dramatic relationship. And then we go on. So it depends for each specific chakra. And we work on the specific block for each chakra. So basically, it's 8 sessions because one chakra each, seven major chakras plus the last one is to align all the energy. And I include like a quantum healing for that because in general, what I observe for the root chakra, because I feel all the emotions that's getting out in their body. I'm a channel, it's just coming through me. And I know sometimes what they would feel after the healing. But what I observe, like the root chakra, they always get a headache
Hmm.
because something is getting reprogrammed in the subconscious and in the brain.
I see.
But then the more we progress with the healing, because you're removing all the luggage that you're carrying, past life, inherited trauma from childhood, a lot of things, you feel better and lighter as we progress. So that's what I do, and then I also include coaching because healing. I always tell my clients, I do the 80%, you do the 20%, but the most important part is the 20%, which is mindset.
Mm.
Not because we cleared your energy, that means the work is done. You also have to work on the mindset because it would require developing new habits, letting go of old habits, letting go of old beliefs, and developing new beliefs. So that's basically how I work.
I see. So with each of the sections that you have, one per chakra, sounds like that's the best way to do it. Do you do a past life regression on each one of those to really channel in the information of what's going on with a specific person?
Yeah, if it's needed, yes. If during my read my if during my root chakra work,
Mhm.
if I receive an information to do a past life regression, I do it with the client. So we basically go into like hypnosis type. So it's them going back. I'm just a facilitator.
Mhm.
So they see exactly who they are, what they did in their past life.
Are all of your clients able to see that? Are they able to see that, or does it?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Okay.
But I really prepare them. So if I do a past life regression, so for example, I'm doing root chakra healing right now.
Mhm.
And then I received an information to do a past life regression. And so I finished the healing. I asked the person, are you calm today? Are you relaxed? Because if the person is not calm and relaxed, it's hard to get there.
Sure.
You need to be really in a calm state to be able to reach your deepest subconscious.
Mhm.
So if they say, I'm okay, so we do a lot of breathing exercise just to reach that level of calmness before I start the regression.
Mhm.
Yeah, so far they've seen it.
Well, good. Good. And I'm assuming
And
people who come to you probably already have, based on the line of work you do, are already familiar with mindfulness and are really
yeah,
understanding a little bit more about healing. Yeah.
yeah, because the goal, but there was a case I did the past life regression for my client. because it was so brutal. If it's so brutal, sometimes I don't let them go back. I do it and try to do the correction in their behalf and ask forgiveness. Like the one that I just mentioned, she was born with too much guilt
Mhm.
because in her past life she killed her husband, the mistress of her husband, and their kid. It's my first reading. I just saw she was holding a knife with blood, and I saw in the background dead people, like a guy and a girl. And the message was like that. She killed her husband and the mistress of her husband. And when I did the healing, the message I received is I need to do the past life regression on her behalf. So I went there and I actually saw that she also killed her kid. And it was so brutal, like it was brutal scene. And I guess that's the reason why she shouldn't see it, but for a reason. Because if she was born with so much guilt and she finally sees those things that she had done in her past life, it would be too much.
Yeah, I would think it would be too much also.
Yeah,
Um,
but then at some point you get used to it. It doesn't bother you anymore because it just passes through.
so what is your feeling about past lives? Right? We hear a lot of people talk about past lives. Do you believe that it is a past life, or do you believe that everything's happening simultaneously right now in your past life is just a parallel lifetime that you can tap into? What are your thoughts about that?
At first, I never believed in past life.
Oh, you've never passed that?
Way back, I never believed in past life, to
Oh,
be honest.
uh-huh. Yeah.
And then when I did my ayahuasca, I actually saw myself in my past life. And one of my relationship in this lifetime is actually to pay what I did in past life. And that's when I started to believe in past life. To answer your question, I'm half half. I do believe, and I just finished a Kabbalah course. So it is past life. It's in another lifetime.
Mhm.
And the reason why we're reincarnated now in this lifetime is there are things that needs to be corrected in that. And when people say it's parallel lives, because we are more than capable to go back to that one. It's like multiverse.
Mhm.
It just happened in a different timeline, but you can go back.
Mhm.
I think that's for me like how to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to know everything, but I mean, just with my experience, I've healed a lot of that on my own through meditations, and it sounds like you have done the same because you said that you saw your past lives. Is that is that
Yeah. I normally do try sometimes to see because the first time long time ago I did a meditation, I saw an image of me and an ex-boyfriend in a 16th century setting, like an image. I was like, what is that? And then a lot of spiritual work before I was able to understand what was that image all about. Yeah, I did a lot, like, I do a lot of meditation.
Mhm.
It's the only way for me to access information. Sometimes it's so unfair. I would say unfair because sometimes it's so hard for me to get to that level, but it's so easy for me to do it for other people, for my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's always unusual, though. I've heard other people say that as well, where they can really, really help other people in that way. So, yeah. Any
But
other
I love it though.
stories that you want to tell us about your work?
I think this one would resonate to other people. So I have a client who wants a love life. And so we did the chakra healing. and chakra reading. And then the image that I saw is her in a past life with a kid and her husband in a like a military uniform living away.
Mm.
And the message I received was like she needs to correct that in order to progress in her lab life this lifetime. And so we did a past life regression. And what she saw in there is actually she was in a rush to get married, have kids, and she didn't choose the right guy for her. And what happened in that past life is the guy was cheating and eventually he left her. And then I asked her in that past life regression, ask the woman if she has an advice for you. Basically, that woman is her in past life. And the advice was choose well. And then in this lifetime, actually, it's the same scenario. She's always the one chasing, and she's always in the pattern of avoidant type of guys. And one of the things that we discovered is she is seeking validation.
Mm.
And when you're seeking validation, you normally attract this type of guys who are avoidant, hard to get, because it validates your ego. It makes it more attractive and challenging if you win a guy who's not. But the problem is she always ends up in a toxic relationship. That probably resonates for a lot of your listeners, viewers. That if you like this type of people, if you need to correct seeking validation, whether it's in past life or this lifetime, you will always end up with a toxic, avoidant type of person unless you correct that behavior. So yeah, that's one for love life. Honestly, at the end of the day, majority of my clients, either it's love life, career, or desire to change because they are blocked.
Mm.
And they are blocked either of inner child wounds, sometimes most of the time, a lot of past life that they need to correct. I actually have a client wherein we did the chakra reading and I saw again a knife in the chakra reading, and then we did a past life regression. She saw her life like she was born in Latin America, tropical country, and then their village was massacred,
Mhm.
and she was just like 4 years old. And a guy, an old guy, adopted her, and they traveled the world. But then that old guy that adopted her died, and she became a dancer, and she was like working in these clubs dancing, and then she got involved with a guy. It was a toxic relationship. It was a long past life regression. So anyway, the guy died naturally. She took all the money and then sailed away. She left that place where she was at. It was something in Middle East. She ended up there. She sailed and moved away from that place carrying all the money. But then when we were doing the past life, there was no emotion at all in her like previous person. And then in this lifetime, she is actually so emotional. All the emotions that she suppressed in the past life just came out in this lifetime. And it's so funny because during the past life regression, she like her previous life person came to her and she became pregnant. Now I feel like I'm sounding crazy. So in the past life, like she became pregnant and she was scared to give birth because her son died after 4 months of birth. And I said, well, you have to, like during the hypnosis, you have to give birth. So anyway, she gave birth and she carried that new person, which is her in past life, in this lifetime. And so the one of the learnings there is like because she suppressed her emotions so much and she has to correct so many things
Mhm.
that now even a small thing makes her cry. And it explains why she is so emotional with everything. It's basically to balance all the suppressed emotions and too much emotions in this lifetime. Yeah, so a lot of interesting story.
A lot of interesting stories. And I know that past lives and the past life regressions can be very, very healing for people. Do you believe that everybody has to understand what their past lives are in order to heal?
If there is a need to heal, yes. But if there is nothing to correct, I believe we shouldn't do it. Like, why do you need to know if you don't have to heal anything?
Mhm.
What you don't know wouldn't hurt you.
Mhm.
If you have to know because you need to heal, go for it. So that's my stand.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that. I didn't know what you thought about that because I see a lot of healing happening without having to go back and get all the information from past lives. But like I said, I know that a lot of people can heal from that as well. That's something that they seek and they want to know.
Yeah, if it's something that because at some point we need to correct, and if that needs to happen in our past life, then let's do it.
Hmm.
And just to add, a lot of my work as well, it's like inner child wounds. It's like related, past life and inner child wounds.
Hmm.
It's a lot with the inner child wounds. And it's the solar plexus chakra is actually related to the heart and the throat because, and the majority of what I've seen so far in my work, it's a lot of seeking validation, fear of rejection.
Hmm.
And when you have issues with seeking validation and fear of rejection, you also have issues with self love and giving love to others. Sometimes it's too much because you need validation. You are scared of rejection that you forget to love yourself.
Hmm.
And then it goes with our expression of truth, throat chakra. If you need to please people all the time because you want approval, you are always lying to yourself and not telling the truth because you are scared to hurt other people. And then that becomes an issue because if you're not expressing your feelings and emotions, it gets suppressed, 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 suppressed until you finally just erupt. And then you do the damage to people
Hmm.
because all the while they thought it's okay, you're okay, but the truth is you're not okay, but you're not saying it because you're so scared that you're going to be canceled, rejected.
Hmm.
So a lot of that thing, I've seen a lot of that things in my work.
Hmm. Do you have anything coming up, any events or any classes? How can people get in touch with you for healing?
So I actually organize retreats here in Portugal. They can and I actually give 30 minutes free consultation. It's a chakra reading. So they can go to my website to avail for that. It's mysoulempowerment.com, www.mysoulempowerment.com. So they can avail a 30-minute free chakra reading. and I have an upcoming retreat here in Portugal and maybe other places at some point.
Very good. Anything else you'd like to say?
Well, they can visit my website. I do energy healing and then I do coaching. So that coaching one is the one for transformation, whether it's professional, personal, and retreats.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you so much for your time,
Well,
Osmarie.
thank you. I
Yes,
enjoyed this
I
talk.
do
It's like
too.
therapeutic.
I appreciate you telling us your story, your background in the corporate and into energy healing and all how all of that transpired and all of your healing work you're doing today. It's amazing what you're doing to help people. So thank you for your light and thank you for
Thank you so
joining
much
this.
too.